They say he planned a murder. He says police beat him, and somewhere in between, a DJ lies dead. On a December night in Johannesburg, a single gunshot ended the life of Warwick DJ Warras' stock. Within days, police named a suspect, Victor Majola. But as quickly as they accused him of murder, another story emerged, one that forced South Africa to ask an uncomfortable question. Is Victor Majola a cold-blooded killer, or a man already punished before trial? Johannesburg is a city that has learned how to live with violence. Gunshots echo through its streets often enough that they blend into the background noise of daily survival. Sirens, shouting, engines revving in the dark. These sounds are familiar. Death is not unusual here. But in December 2025, one killing stopped the city in its tracks. Warwick DJ Warras' stock was shot dead in Johannesburg's inner city, a place where crime is both constant and calculated. Yet this was not another late-night robbery gone wrong. From the very first moments, police and witnesses understood something was different. Nothing was taken from him. His phone was still there, his personal belongings untouched. There were no signs of a struggle. This was not chaos, it was precision. One shot ended his life, fast, deliberate, and final. That single detail shifted the narrative immediately. In a city used to opportunistic crime, this killing looked intentional, planned, targeted. Whoever approached DJ Warras that night did not come for what he had. They came for who he was, and who he was mattered. DJ Warras was not only a popular DJ, he was also a security consultant who spoke openly about the dangers lurking beneath Johannesburg's surface: hijacked buildings, criminal syndicates, and the shadow economy controlling large parts of the inner city. He discussed these issues publicly, naming systems, if not always individuals. In Johannesburg, that kind of visibility can be dangerous. As news of his death spread, shock rippled through the city. Social media filled with disbelief and anger. People asked the same question again and again. Why DJ Warras? Police sealed off the scene as investigators moved quickly. CCTV cameras from surrounding buildings were reviewed. Witnesses were interviewed. Early indications suggested more than one person may have been involved. This was not a crime of passion or panic. It bore the markings of an execution. The absence of theft, the speed of the attack, and the calm escape of the perpetrators painted a chilling picture. Someone had planned this. Someone had waited. Someone had made a decision that DJ Warras would not walk away alive. Even more unsettling was the silence that followed. No threats, no claims of responsibility, no warnings. In the criminal underworld, silence often signals control. By the time the sun rose over Johannesburg the next morning, one truth had settled heavily over the city. This killing was not random, and it was not over. DJ Warras' death had exposed something deeper, darker, and far more dangerous than an isolated act of violence. The city had been reminded of a hard reality. In Johannesburg, speaking too loudly can make you a target. And on that night, DJ Warras paid the ultimate price. When police announced an arrest in the murder of DJ Warras, the city leaned in. After days of speculation, rumors, and unanswered questions, authorities confirmed that a suspect had been taken into custody. His name was released shortly afterward: Victor Majola. For most South Africans, the name meant nothing. He was not a public figure, not a known criminal kingpin, not someone whose past had already been dissected by headlines. Yet police believed he was central to a killing that had shaken Johannesburg. Majola was arrested in Soweto and brought before the Johannesburg Magistrates Court. There, prosecutors revealed the seriousness of the case they intended to bring against him. He was charged with premeditated murder and conspiracy to commit murder, among the most severe charges under South African law. These were not accusations of impulse or desperation. They suggested planning, coordination, intent. According to investigators, DJ Warras's killing was not carried out by a lone individual acting randomly. Early police briefings indicated that multiple suspects approached Warras shortly before the fatal shot was fired. CCTV footage, they said, played a key role in piecing together the moments leading up to the murder. What police did not publicly state was just as important as what they did. They did not confirm that Victor Majola was the gunman. They did not explain his precise role. They did not disclose a motive. Instead, the charge of conspiracy implied something broader, that Majola was allegedly part of a planned operation rather than a spontaneous act of violence. As the case developed, it became clear that Majola was not alone in police custody at first. A second suspect had also been arrested in connection with the killing, but within days, prosecutors provisionally withdrew charges against that individual, citing insufficient evidence. Majola remained. The state made its position clear. This was a Schedule 6 offense, and bail would be opposed. The implications were severe. If convicted, Majola could face life imprisonment. Still, many questions remained unanswered. Who ordered the killing? Who fired the shot? And why DJ Warras? Police offered no public explanation, maintaining that investigations were ongoing and that more suspects could still be identified. What they emphasized instead was the seriousness of the case and the need to keep the accused in custody. As Victor Majola stood before the court, largely unknown and largely silent, the narrative around the murder began to shift. The story was no longer only about the life that had been taken. It was now also about the man the state believed was connected to that decision. In a city accustomed to violence, this case was becoming something else entirely. Not just a murder investigation, but the opening chapter of a much deeper reckoning. When Victor Majola entered the courtroom for the first time, the attention shifted. Up until that moment, the narrative had been controlled by police statements and charging documents. The focus was on the murder of DJ Warras, the seriousness of the allegations, and the weight of the charges. But as Majola stood before the magistrate, journalists noticed something immediately. He was limping. His movements were slow, deliberate, as though each step caused pain. He kept part of his face covered, avoiding direct exposure to the cameras trained on him. This was not the image of a confident suspect. It was the image of a man who appeared physically injured. Then, his lawyer spoke. According to the defense, Victor Majola had been assaulted by police during his arrest. The claim landed heavily in the courtroom. Majola's legal representative told the court that his client had been beaten while in police custody and had required medical attention for his injuries. The defense raised the issue formally, placing it on record, not as speculation, but as an allegation demanding recognition. The magistrate took note. Majola was instructed to remove anything covering his face so his identity could be confirmed. As he complied, observers noted visible discomfort. The court did not rule on the allegation that day, but it did not dismiss it either. Police, for their part, offered no immediate public response. There was no confirmation, no denial, no explanation. That silence was enough to ignite public debate. Across social media and radio talk shows, South Africans split into familiar camps. Some argued that the claim was a tactic, a standard defense move meant to generate sympathy or cast doubt on the case. Others warned that police brutality, if proven, could compromise the integrity of the entire investigation. The timing of the allegation was critical. Majola had not yet applied for bail. The state was preparing to oppose it. The case was still in its earliest stages. If police had indeed assaulted the accused, it raised serious legal and ethical questions. Evidence could be challenged. Statements could be scrutinized. The credibility of the investigation itself could come under pressure. At the same time, the allegation did not erase the central fact of the case. DJ Warras was dead. No court had ruled on Majola's claim. No medical report had been publicly released. The allegation remained exactly what the law defines it as, unproven. But it changed the story. From that moment on, this case was no longer only about an alleged conspiracy to murder. It was also about how justice is carried out and whether the system can pursue accountability without crossing its own lines. As Victor Majola was led back into custody, one thing became clear. The battle ahead would not only be fought over what happened on the night DJ Warras died, but over what happened after the arrest. And in South Africa, those questions can be just as explosive. As Victor Majola remained behind bars, the case against him began to take shape, slowly and with notable gaps. In court, the state outlined the seriousness of the charges and made its position clear. This was a Schedule 6 offense, and bail would be opposed. Prosecutors argued that the nature of the crime, premeditated murder and conspiracy, justified keeping the accused in custody while investigations continued. But outside the courtroom, questions continued to build. One of the most significant developments came quietly. A second suspect, initially arrested in connection with the murder of DJ Warras, had the charges against him provisionally withdrawn. The state cited a lack of evidence. No further explanation was offered. From that moment, Victor Majola stood alone in the dock. Police confirmed that investigations were ongoing and that they were still searching for additional suspects. CCTV footage remained central to the case, and authorities suggested that more arrests could follow. Yet no new names were released, and no further details were shared publicly. What role, then, did Majola allegedly play? The charge of conspiracy implied planning and coordination, but the state did not disclose whether Majola was accused of pulling the trigger, arranging the hit, or facilitating it in some other way. No motive was formally presented. No syndicate was named. No timeline of events was laid out for the public. The absence of information created a vacuum. Speculation filled the gaps left by officials' silence. Some pointed to DJ Warras's outspoken stance on hijacked buildings and organized crime. Others warned against drawing conclusions before evidence was tested in court. Police themselves remained cautious. They confirmed only what they could stand by publicly. The killing was targeted. Robbery was not the motive. Multiple individuals were believed to be involved. Beyond that, they said little. This silence frustrated some, but it also reflected the reality of high-profile investigations. Releasing too much information too early could compromise arrests, alert suspects, or weaken the case. Still, the lack of clarity placed pressure on the prosecution. In a case this serious, uncertainty can be dangerous. It can erode public trust, fuel conspiracy theories, and raise doubts about whether justice will ultimately be served. As days turned into weeks, Victor Majola remained in custody, awaiting his next court appearance. The state prepared its opposition to bail, while the defense prepared its response. Both sides understood the stakes. this was no longer just about proving guilt or innocence. It was about whether the justice system could navigate a case marked by violence, public interest, alleged police misconduct, and the invisible hand of organized crime, all at once. And in the spaces between official statements, one truth remained undeniable. The silence surrounding the case was growing louder. As the case stands, Victor Mthethwa Majola remains behind bars. No verdict has been delivered. No evidence has yet been tested in a full trial. No final version of events has been accepted by a court of law. Legally, Majola is still presumed innocent. Yet in reality, his life has already been divided into two parts, before the name DJ Warras and after it. For the state, the path forward is clear but demanding. Prosecutors must prove not only that a murder occurred, but that it was planned, coordinated, and that Victor Majola played a decisive role in making it happen. Conspiracy charges demand more than suspicion. They require proof of intent, communication, and agreement. For the defense, the task is equally heavy. They must challenge the state's version of events, question the reliability of the investigation, and pursue the allegation that police crossed a line during Majola's arrest. If misconduct is proven, it could have serious implications, not only for this case, but for public trust in law enforcement. Hovering over both sides is the absence that started it all. DJ Warras is gone. A man who spoke openly about crime, corruption, and danger in Johannesburg's inner city was silenced in a manner that suggested intent rather than chance. His death sent a message, whether intended or not, about the risks of visibility in a city where power often operates quietly.
Let's celebrate about family. Let's fight for each other. That's what Warwick was about. Let's fight for community. Let's fight for our home.
It means clarity. For the justice system, it means proving that even the most complex cases can be handled without abuse, shortcuts, or secrecy. This documentary does not claim to answer the question of guilt or innocence. That responsibility belongs to the courts. What it does reveal is something broader. A system under strain, a city wrestling with organized crime, and a case that exposes how fragile the line between justice and injustice can be. Victor Majola may yet be convicted. He may yet be acquitted. More suspects may still be named. But whatever the outcome, this case has already left its mark. It has forced uncomfortable questions about policing, accountability, and the cost of speaking out. It has reminded South Africans that truth is rarely immediate, and justice is rarely simple. As the courtroom doors close and proceedings continue beyond public view, one reality remains. In Johannesburg, silence can be deadly, and sometimes the truth only emerges long after the gunshot fades. Until then, the story of DJ Warras and the man accused of conspiring in his death remains unfinished. This is not the end of the story. It is only the point where the law begins to speak. In South Africa, justice doesn't always arrive clean. Sometimes it limps into court, bruised, contested, and incomplete. The case of Victor Majola is still unfolding, and when the verdict finally comes, it may reveal more than just who killed DJ Warras.